Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredibly high-stakes tension building in one of the world's most critical waterways, the Strait of Hormuz. We're talking about a situation where just one wrong move could spark a massive global crisis. Okay, let's just jump right in with this really dramatic ultimatum from U.S. President Donald Trump. And get this, he said it just hours before peace talks with Iran were supposed to kick off. I mean, talk about putting immense pressure on the whole situation right from the get-go. So yeah, a statement like that obviously raises some huge questions, right? Like, how on earth did we get to this point? What's really at stake here? So let's do what we do best. Let's unpack this whole thing, piece by piece, and figure out what's really going on behind all the headlines. Okay, first things first. To really get a handle on just how big this crisis is, we've got to understand the place itself. Because, this isn't just about politics. It's really about geography. Yeah, this is not just some random body of water. Think of it more like a natural choke point, a vital artery for the entire global economy. If you control this one narrow passage, well, you suddenly have a ton of leverage over pretty much everyone. All right, now take a look at this number, 20%. It might not look like much, but honestly, this single figure is the key to understanding this entire global conflict. It's the reason why so many countries are watching this whole situation just holding their breath. Yep, you heard that right. A full 1/5, 20% of the entire planet's oil supply flows through that one narrow waterway every single day. So you can imagine any kind of disruption there. It doesn't just cause ripples, it sends massive shockwaves through the whole global economy. We're talking energy prices, stability, the whole shebang. So, okay, the stakes are obviously sky high, but that brings up the big question. How did we get here? How did we end up with a blockade, military threats, and these last-ditch peace talks? Well, the answer is, it all happened incredibly fast. Just look at this timeline. It really shows you how fast this all spiraled out of control. It all kicks off on February 28th with U.S.-Israeli strikes that kill Iran's supreme leader. Iran's response? It was fast and it was big. In early March, they just went ahead and blockaded the Strait. That then led to a very, very fragile 14-day truce by the end of March, which is what brings us to the talks that are happening right now. But of course, a conflict like this rarely stays contained, right? It quickly started pulling in other regional players. The Iran-backed group Hezbollah jumped into the war, and at the same time, Israel kept up its attacks in Lebanon, basically arguing that that area wasn't covered by the truce. And that one point of disagreement, well, it means the entire ceasefire is now, as one person put it, hanging by a thread. Okay, so that brings us to today. Let's look at the actual talks happening right now in Islamabad, Pakistan. You could really say this is where diplomacy is making its last stand. So, who's in the room? Let's break it down. For the U.S., you've got Vice President J.D. Vance leading the delegation, and it's worth noting he has reportedly been a voice against a military campaign. He's there with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. And on the other side of the table, you have the Iranian team, led by their foreign minister. And here's the real kicker, the central contradiction of this whole thing. On one hand, you've got diplomats in a room trying to hammer out a peace deal. But on the other hand, the military situation on the ground is still a total powder keg, ready to explode and shatter that truce at any second. It is an absolute diplomatic high-wire act. And if that wasn't enough tension for you, you have President Trump making statements like this one, just projecting total and absolute confidence. He's basically broadcasting to the world that, in his view, Iran's military is so weakened that the U.S. doesn't even need a backup plan if these talks fall apart. But all that confident talk from the White House runs right up against this number, 3,200. So what is that? What does that number actually represent? That is the number of ships, commercial ships, reportedly stuck right now in the Strait of Hormuz because of the blockade. We're talking thousands of vessels with all their crews just trapped in the middle of this standoff. It's a huge logistical nightmare, sure, but it's also a humanitarian crisis that puts a very real human face on all this high-level geopolitical chess. And so, all of this leaves us with one final, very urgent question. With diplomacy hanging on by a thread, is the next move going to be a handshake or a show of force? The entire world is watching Islamabad right now because the answer to that question is going to have a massive impact on global security and the economy for years to come.